Welcome to another video from explainingcomputers.com. A few weeks ago I did a review of the Raspberry Pi 2 in which I explained how it will soon be able to run a version of Windows 10. I was then asked, is it possible to run other versions of Windows on the Pi, and said no, you can't do that. And then someone reminded me you can run earlier versions of Windows on the Pi using emulation. In this video I'm therefore going to show you how to run DOS and Windows 3.1 on your Raspberry Pi. Right, in this video I'm going to use a Raspberry Pi. It's going to be a Raspberry Pi 2, but it could be any Raspberry Pi will work just fine, but you will have to be on a network to pick up some online files. You're also going to need for this a copy of Windows 3.1, which came on 7 floppy disks, as you can see. For me, the most difficult part of this video was finding a copy of Windows 3.1. I ended up in my cupboard where, as you can see, I've got lots of old media and photographs and negatives and floppy disks and even the paintbrushes I used to paint cells with. And I found this copy of Windows 3.1. Then I had to get the files off the disks. To do that, I dragged out this very old PC, an Actor PC that first ran this version of Windows 3.1 and actually had a working floppy drive here under Windows 95 because the machine was upgraded over time. And I copied those files from each disk to this USB external drive, which is the only drive I could find which would actually connect to the one USB 1 port on this computer. Right, I've now booted up our Raspberry Pi. I've booted into the latest version of a Raspbian. This is a clean install, except I've added to the desktop the file manager and the LX terminal because we're going to need them. So I'm going to start off by booting up LX terminal, and I'm going to install an application called DOXBox, which is a DOS emulator for the Raspberry Pi, which will enable us to run DOS programs and also install Windows 3.1. So I'll type sudo super userdo, substitute userdo, call it what you like, but it'll work. Apt get application and install and DOS box. And if I press enter and I've typed it right, it'll start to install it. Do I want to continue? I most certainly do. And this will now install the relevant files, having downloaded them, unpacked them, all that kind of stuff. I have here actually increased the text size in the terminal just so you can see things a bit better, but I do need to warn you, as we run through this install, inevitably there will be some smaller fonts on screen. So if you aren't watching this in a full 720p display, I can only apologise in advance. Normally when I actually make a video I try and think of the person watching it on a smartphone on a low resolution, but here, because of the inevitabilities of the software I'm using, that isn't possible. Anyway, I've now got DOSBox installed, I hope. So if I type DOS box like that. We have indeed. That is a version of DOS running in emulation on our Raspberry Pi. In DOSBox, if you press Alt Enter, it makes it full screen to the extent we now have our 640 by 480 DOS window running in the middle of our 720p Raspberry Pi window. If I type, for example, dir for directory, you can see we've got the DOS file sitting there in the what it labels as the Z directory here where it's installed DOS. I'll press Alt Enter again to get some Raspberry Pi-ness back. Next thing I'm going to do is to open up File Manager. I press it correctly, and in here in the standard Home Pi directory I'm going to create a new folder which I'm going to call Pi_C. And that's going to be our effectively our virtual C drive. Now I need some files in that, so I'm going to plug in a USB key like that, which will hopefully arrive. There it is, look, and I can open that up, and as you can probably see, I've got here the files we're going to need. I've got our Windows 3.1 files all in this directory here. There they all are, sitting there looking nice and beautiful, and lots and lots and lots of them there are. If we go back again, I've also got some games, I've got some documents, and I've got a WordPerfect file 1, just because I want to show you various things as we run this. So I'm going to copy these files, and we're going to take them back and put them into Pi-C and paste them there, and hopefully they'll copy across. Yes, they will. And if I get rid of So with this always tidy up a bit, makes things look tidier. So if I go back to DOXBox, and I think I'll do that to make it a bit better for us. And we're going to mount our C drive. So I'm going to type mount C to mount our virtual C drive, and it's going to be from Pi_C on our Raspberry Pi. There we are. I now type C: to change to the C drive, and dir for directory under DOS. This is so nostalgic. You can see we've now got our listing of DOS files. If I change to games, cd change directory to games, you're learning DOS here as well if you've never seen this stuff. If I directory that, you will see we have various files there, including PAC-PC, which has, as it's an exe file, I can just type PAC-PC and enter. And there we are, look, we've got a version of Space Invaders running on our Raspberry Pi, which is amazing, isn't it? I can then control it all back up there. There we are, look. You might notice you haven't got any sound here. Sound does work under DOSBox, but because of the technical configuration I have to actually record today, I've not actually got sound here. So you'll just have to trust me. There is sound on this if you wanted it. Anyway, that shows you can run a DOS game on your Raspberry Pi, but I'll escape out of that. I'll go cd back again and just remind you where we are in DOS. I go to cd WP51, WordPerfect 5.1, probably the best program ever written in the history of time. Lots of files in there. I think if I do a dir, is it /w, it gives you, it's a wide listing. And if I type just WP for WordPerfect, we're now running WordPerfect 5.1. This is what word processing used to look like if you weren't alive when it looked like this. If I press F5, I could actually see a file directory listing. I can go up a bit and then go to, say, that directory for cyber. Those are the WordPerfect files from my cyber business book from years and years and years and years ago. I don't know, let's go to section 2. How do I retrieve that? 1 for retrieve. Everything used to be done from the keyboard, look. Can't find my printer. What a surprise. This is what word processing looked like all those years ago when I first started writing books. If you want to see what it looked like, you went, Shift F7, I think, and you could view your document, look. Wow, and there it would be, a virtual representation of our document. Bring it up, where was it, next one, page down. Look at the speed. DOS was no faster than this, I assure you, in the past. You could zoom in, it was amazing. Maybe word processing has improved very slightly. Anyway, no and yes, we'll come out of that and be back where we were. So I'll just directory again. So we're going to install Windows. So if I cd win31 for Windows 3.1, just to prove there's some files there are, and presumably I can type set up. And hopefully that will start. It has the process of setting up Windows. Enter to continue. We'll do an express setup. Let's be honest, it wasn't intended to be installed on a Raspberry Pi. And I will speed through this process, pressing the various keys required, although look how fast it is. Anyone who sat there with disks installing Windows in the past will go, wow, we should have been installing it on a Raspberry Pi from a SD card. I haven't stopped yet because it's going so fast. Well, what does it get to next? Please wait. Wow, this is, look, a little bit of Windows. What is my name? Well, it has to be Pi, doesn't it? I really think it does. Continue, it really is my name. And it's setting up Windows. So copying files across, I'll just speed across a little bit of this. And here we are, we're getting there now. No printers installed, so obviously I'll just progress like that. And here we are, just about there. Finishing off setup. Oh, it's picked up the fact that we've got a WordPerfect for DOS install. Windows used to do that. Windows 3.1 was the last version of Windows to run over DOS. I think we'll skip the tutorial because I don't think we need that. Oh, we need to reboot now, so I guess we will reboot. Reboot requested, quitting now. And there we are. Now, we've now come out of everything here, so I'll have to go back into DOS box, I think, like that. There we are. And I can go, I have to remount or mount. Yes, it could all be automated, of course, but for now it's not too bad. Mount C, where was it? Pi underscore C. C colon again, just check it's all working. It is. I think I'll just also make sure we've got, if I go to CD Windows, I think it's set up there just to check what resolution we're going to be running in. Let's have a look. We're running in VGA. Now there are all sorts of things you can do to change resolutions, but I'm going to guess it's best to go up to about there. I think 800 by 600, 16 colours. You couldn't run many games in that. I accept and continue. Where are the files for this? They're not on A colon, are they? They're on C colon /win31, if you're still with me. Hopefully you are. And it's sorting that out. Hopefully it is. Yes, it's done that. And if I now type win for Windows, it's coming up. And I'll tend to bring it up pretty much full screen. If you're wondering why I went for Windows running at 800 by 600, I'm capturing this at 720p, so 720 pixels deep. If I'd gone for 1024 by 768, it wouldn't have fitted. So for my purposes, that was the best choice. And the mouse is working as well, fantastic. So as you can see, here we are in Windows 3.1. Oh, that's right, you had to maximize the program manager, and then these windows ran inside it, didn't they? Isn't that lovely? We had the Windows 3.1 file manager, which is very, very, very exciting. I think we'll close that down. We have our control panel, the print manager, the MS-DOS prompt, all the exciting stuff that ran in Windows. What do we have in accessories? Anything interesting? Write, look. Windows Write, the Windows built-in word processor. Hello there. That's also not terribly exciting. I haven't, of course, got any applications here. Do I want to save my changes? Absolutely not. But, of course, I've just remembered we have in Windows the program we all used to run when Windows was first installed, Solitaire. So if we maximize that, this is Solitaire running on Windows 3.1. So you could, oh look, we've got an ace already. How exciting. So I will run through this for a second so I can show you the most exciting thing that ever used to happen on the Windows 3.1. So just bear with me a second. And here we are, I've managed to do it first time. This is the most exciting thing that ever happened on Windows 3.1. Yay, the cards are bouncing around the screen. Isn't that amazing? Well, there we are. We've managed to run Windows 3.1 and a few other DOS things on a Raspberry Pi. Well, there we are. I hope you've enjoyed our stroll through computing nostalgia, courtesy of Raspberry Pi emulation. But now that's it for this time, and I hope to talk to you again very soon.